So, sad story. It's been so hot. My chickens have been sleeping outside. They have a chicken coop and then they have a chicken run with a flat roof, and it is inside a small fenced area.
Okay.
It's been so hot, they have been sleeping on the roof.
Because they usually sleep inside that coop, right?
They do.
Okay.
But they've just like being out and letting the wind get under their wings and cool
There's a
them
song
during
about
the
that.
night. I woke up yesterday and something had gotten into their little yard, and you could just see that it had been a night of terror. There were feathers all over the yard, like the soft little downy feathers, but then clumps of feathers had been pulled out, and I found one of my chickens dead.
Oh my goodness.
Just mutilated in the yard. And then another one has just disappeared. Like I didn't find it anywhere. And so when I woke up, 4 of my chickens were out in the yard. Like they had been so terrified that they somehow managed to
climbed the fence
or something and they got out. And then, so 2 chickens gone in one night. And then last night, as I was logging them up, you could tell they did not want to go to bed.
Well, I bet.
They were, wandering around real tight because it's starting to get dark, and they always just go and get in bed by themselves when it starts to get dark. They're just in this tight little huddle, like, we don't know what to do here because if we go back to that place,
oh my goodness,
we don't know if we'll be here in the morning. And so I put him inside and locked him up. But as I went to bed, I was just like, Lord, please take care of my chickens because I don't want to be awake all night worrying about them.
Yeah.
And please make sure that I think it was raccoons, Raccoons don't figure out how to open the locks on the chicken coop. And anyway, I went out this morning and they were still there, still alive.
How did your little girls handle this?
Bea was heartbroken.
Oh my
She
goodness.
just cried and cried and cried. And then she said, but secretly, those 2 weren't my favorites. So it's a little bit okay.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah. That's the hard part about having chickens is you just don't know when something is going to happen to them. They're completely defenseless.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's the hard part about
all animals.
It's a hard part about all humans.
True.
Not that we're defenseless, but you saying that makes me think about my kids going through a season of transition, loss of trust with an adult in their life, that they looked up to, my older boys, and how they handle loss and stress. Yeah. And it's hard.
The older I get, I realize I want to make space for the loss, for the grieving, for the sadness. And, I don't want to tell Bea and Zoo just like, oh, they're just chickens. It's no big deal. This is nature or whatever. Don't cry about it. But I just want to say, we can be sad. These little birds, we love them, and they have their own personalities and everything. And
that's a take on surviving summer that I hadn't really considered, because when a school year ends, there's always a transition or summer break. And for your chickens, the weather changed and they had a big transition. But there's a transition, and with transition, there's always some loss. Some classmates that don't come back the next year, or somebody moves to another town, or a chicken dies. But just navigating summer as things change. You don't, even our kids, when they go back to school in the fall, they're not in the same grade anymore. They don't have the same teachers or the same classmates. And it's change, and it can be challenging.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, even have experienced loss in my older kids graduating high school and moving on and getting jobs and moving into adulthood, that what I knew for 18 years was coming has been here, and it's hard to get used to having activities and doing things with your kids and like, all right, guys, come on, let's load up in the minivan and go swimming or whatever. And they aren't able to do it with you anymore. They've got plans, and it's sad to not have those guys around with me all the time.
This is Fran's first summer of really no summer break. You know, I mean, because he has a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's just a different. This summer I've been trying to navigate with my boys, and navigate might be too strong of a word, but just be mindful of helping them walk through something that's difficult, shining the light of Jesus, of like how a Christ follower might walk through this. But this is a sidebar. I'm going to get to that story, but Cooper and I'm trying to parent my kids in such a way that they want to follow Jesus. Not that they want to wear the label, I'm a Christian, or have Christian moral standards or whatever, but that I truly want to follow Jesus. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing so good. Cooper and I were having a conversation recently. It was after we talked on the podcast about pool PDA. And so I was talking to him about pool etiquette. And, we kind of, of course, the conversation trailed and went in different directions, and we were talking about people that have sex with their girlfriend in high school and things like that. And I said, well, to my knowledge, he is not sexually active. And I said, why would you not have sex with your girlfriend? And he was just like, well, the Bible says. And I'm just like, oh, but if it's just a rule in a book that I don't even see you read that often, that answer makes me super nervous. So I was just telling him, my heart's desire would be that you loved and adored the person of Jesus so much that you would follow him and do as he said out of devotion to him. His eyes glassed over, and I was just like, well, I lost him with that one. So, I guess I'm counting on youth group to help me out, come alongside and help me out there. But both my boys are having some transition this summer with the loss of an adult in their life that has coached them and been close with them, that they really admired and looked up to, and is just no longer a part of their life and their story. And it's been interesting because I want them to grieve, and maybe more than they want to grieve, because they'll shut down the conversation and moving on, and they're frustrated. Chase came home the other day, though, and I was really proud of him, but our conversation didn't go very far. He said, I texted this person. I was like cleaning the counter or something, Brian and I looked at each other, and I said, really, what'd you say? And he said, I just told him I'm praying for him. And I was like, that's awesome. He said, I didn't want to do it. I was like, well, you didn't have to. No one made you.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I hold grudges, and I'm not holding a grudge in this situation. But then, true to his personality, then he shut off our conversation, went upstairs, and, moving on. So I'm proud of him that he would recognize that issue in his own heart. Like, I'm not going to let that take hold in my heart. But it's been challenging, and I don't know how much you help your kids grieve, or you just let them do it on their own. I don't know.
I know. Even thinking about elementary kids, my youngest, she seems to get really attached, just falls in love with every single elementary teacher that she's had. And I've just been thinking about how much she has missed them. Like, she told me the other day that, it was a week or so ago, that she missed her teacher so much that she was crying at night.
Oh,
and
my
you
goodness.
think about, they spend 8 hours with this person essentially.
Sure.
And they're taking milestones, making, they're learning so much. They're having these milestones happen in their life that this person is with them through so much during the day, the peak time of the day, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Yeah.
And especially if they've moved away, because she's had a couple of teachers that retire or move away. And so she has, rarely sees them again, if at all. So this last weekend, Whit and I had to go out of town. He was speaking at church. And so we had her teacher come and spend the weekend with them.
Yeah.
And she was so excited because she's just like, I said, what do you want to do with her?
Yeah.
How do you want to spend your time with her? And she's like, I just want to sit and talk to her.
Oh my goodness. I think maybe what I should be focusing on with my kids is teaching them how to embrace change or embrace their life open-handedly. Because as I hear those stories, I think I might be the one that dislikes change more than even my kids. Maybe my kids are finding it's my issue. I was just thinking, because Eleanor, we're on our second year in a row of young teachers, graduating from college, coming and taking their first job, teaching for a few years, and then the Lord moving them, or their desire to explore an adventure, moving on to a different location. And every time I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, my kid's not going to get to see you in the hallway and hug you. Like, you've been so instrumental. Are you kidding? I can't believe you're leaving. I feel this way about this adult leaving my kid's life. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, they love you. You can't just be leaving like this. Maybe I have an issue. Maybe I don't need to help my kids grieve. Maybe I need to learn how to. I feel this way, Heather. We're not at the tail end of summer, but it feels that way. There's something about like May and June that feel like summer. And then there's something about, anything after the 4th of July, backpacks are on sale and school supplies are in the stores. And I start feeling things winding down and moving towards the school year. And I start grieving my kids going back to school. When in May, I was grieving them coming home from school.
Oh, well, and by the end of June, you're grieving them being home.
Right. But navigating change, I guess, maybe that's what surviving summer's all about for me.
Yeah, everybody growing, maturing, becoming their own. There was something you said that was making me think about something.
Me being mad at teachers that are moving on to live their best life.
Well, I wonder how many of us make cavalier decisions about the way we spend our life and choices we make and places we go or decide to leave. Because it feels right to us and not taking in the whole of the community. Like, my decisions affect other people.
Yeah.
Like, to take my kids out of school and move them to a new place affects a whole community of people.
A whole community. It's interesting that you say that. When Brian had his motorcycle accident earlier this summer, I actually reached out to a girlfriend that's family is making a change for their family to a different school. And we haven't even connected, we've only texted, but I started feeling, and this could be only me, but I started feeling the heaviness and the weight of the beautiful community I had that surrounded me when Brian was really, really laid up in bed for a while, on heavy painkillers and can't do anything. And people that brought food and people that came and prayed. And like, I think of Jack and Sherry Harris that were in town. I think Jack was speaking at one of our church locations, happened to be in town, but they're dear friends that are like, can we come and pray for Brian? That they're from are they from St. Louis?
Yeah.
From St. Louis. And they're like, even if we wouldn't have been preaching, if we could have been here, we would. And just thinking about the amazing community. I had people from my kids' school that were texting and reaching out. We don't even have kids in the same grade. They just consider us family and community because we're in this circle together. I had someone text and say, my husband's in the medical industry. He knows all the doctors, what connections can we make for you? And I was just reading this text going, wow, we don't even have kids the same age. We've never gone to dinner together. We don't. But just this, it affects a whole community when one person leaves. And maybe it's...
Which I think, you think about society, and one of the number one problems in society is loneliness. People are either they don't understand the power of community, or they don't know how to engage in community, or they, I don't know. It's a bigger deal than we give it credit for.
And it's worth saying, not everyone that's leaving should be staying. I mean, it's worth saying that God calls people to different places and in different seasons and it's just something I would say you would really want to think through, weigh out and think through. And
personally, people leaving the church just because I want this different kind of praise and worship, or whatever you might say, that, I want this something different. I'm looking for, this is closer to my house. I don't like the songs as much, or I don't like the teaching as much, but this is closer to my house and it works better for my schedule. So you remove yourself from a community and try to replant. But I am not a master gardener by any stretch of the imagination, not even close.
You do have lots of plants,
I do have
though.
lots of plants, but if I keep moving them around from pot to pot and those roots just keep getting pulled out continually because I just like the way this pot looks better than this pot,
Yeah.
they're going to suffer. They'll be stunted in growth.
For myself, as I am face to face with some different people moving out of my family's life and being sad about it, to be honest. I guess I want to know, does my response mirror how Jesus would do it? I mean, does my response mirror my belief system? And I guess I'm not sure yet.
When you remove yourself, you just lose touch, you silently just start to walk off or whatever, and you don't, you're just like, oh, I've got my feelings hurt, I'm going to retreat over here, or whatever it might be. You miss out on the beauty that community can be in strengthening you and sharpening you. It's oftentimes just easier to move on instead of being honest about how we feel. Like, say, okay, let's talk about my daughter who is going through some angst with her friends. Did I talk about this previous weeks?
You did.
And so probably the easier thing to do would be like, fine, you're going to act like that. I'm going to go over here and talk to these other friends and hang out with them.
Yeah.
And if you want to, start acting the way I want you to act.
I'm going to cut ties unless you change.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
kind
and even, she might not even say anything. Just,
Right,
I'm going to
right.
go over here and hang out with
just
these
internally,
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of, and I'm proud of her that she's had numerous conversations with them about, I care about our friendship and the way that you're acting is hurting me.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating to me. And I don't know where I fit into this. And I don't feel like our friendship is a priority to you, that she's able to have these conversations. But so often we get into places where we're uncomfortable or we don't like what's happening. And so we just remove ourselves and just say, and moving on.
I do that to a fault. And it is that it's earlier this summer when we talked about Brian's motorcycle accident and I said I was so angry and you were like, do you think that anger was masking? I can't remember what you said. What I heard was that anger was masking fear or whatever. I do that relationally when I feel like it's going to hurt too bad. I will cut ties. So I thought, I'm very judgmental about other people doing that to me. It really bothers me when other people do that to me.
Yeah.
And right now I'm thinking of 2 or 3, 4 examples that are going through my mind of places where I have said the conversation would be too painful. Forget it, shut it down. I feel like one thing that has held true on Life in Motion on our podcast since season 1 is us elevating the principle of community and how important community is for a whole bunch of reasons. I'm gonna have to get real with myself and be better in community. And not just let people hurt my feelings and let it be okay. And I don't mean confronting people and being angry. I just know I've been stiff-arming some people because I don't know that they want to hear what I have to say. I don't want them to hurt me further. It's interesting.
Or even if I feel like I've hurt somebody, going and opening the door and saying, have I hurt you in some way? Have I offended you in some way? I'm here to listen.
This is so
if you have something to say.
Hard. That is so hard because I feel like most of the time that's the mature, Christ-like way to do it. And I feel like most of the time what I want to say is, have I hurt you in some way? Because I'd like to tell you how you've hurt me. Like, I'd like to clear the air about all this because I'm having a hard time being around you because of all of this. And so I'd like to talk about this pain you've caused me.
Which would be, I'm going to knock on the door, she'll open it a crack, and then I will burst through.
Yeah. I don't know.
How did we get here?
I don't know, but I think we've been talking about grief. and
Yeah.
loss and walking. I started talking about walking my kids through a very difficult loss of relationship, but I'm realizing maybe the reason I'm having a hard time navigating or helping guide them is because I suck at this. That I don't yet know at 46, oh, it's going to make me teary. That at 46, I don't quite have it together. That if you walk away and it hasn't been resolved, I don't know what to do with it. And I don't want my kids to feel this. But I don't know how to keep it from happening. I see this on the social media debates that have been so big this summer. I mean, if we just want to throw a bomb in the middle of the room, just the Roe v. Wade being overturned and seeing people just hurt one another with their words back and forth with no resolution, with no real relationship, with no like, I'd like to hear your point of view, or I'd like to hold you while you grieve. Like, I don't even agree with your stance, but I'd like to hold you while you grieve because obviously this is difficult.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know in our current culture where people just jump ship so quickly. I don't know how to do it. I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I'd like to train up the next generation in my house to handle endings and new beginnings well, to handle change well. And here I am, the tiniest change, and I'm kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
This episode wasn't for me to grow up. I was just going to help some other people learn how they should.
This episode wasn't even planned. I just wanted to tell you a sad story.
About the chickens. And the chickens are breaking my heart. Yeah, it's interesting. So how do we, as Christ followers, because I think this is our last, I think we're wrapping up Surviving Summer. And obviously I'm hanging on by a thread. So how do we take a step forward as Christ followers when we're dealing with loss or change or a culture that has different perspectives on hot topic issues? I'm needing you to pastor me.
Oh my gosh. Well,
good luck.
I think it's, about being willing to engage, even if it's going to be painful, that so much is based around our feelings.
Yeah.
And that we carry all, and we take it personally. And all I can say is it's being open-handed. Like, I want to reach out to you and I want to find out how I can do this better. And I want to listen to see what's happening in your life. But, for me, I'm often not willing to go there because I don't want to hear the painful parts.
Sure. Well,
I think a lot of times in these relationships where we are either feeling attacked or rejected or misunderstood or hurt or whatever, when you feel like somebody has ghosted you or
you've ghosted someone,
or whatever, our response is based on our feelings and trying to self-preserve, self-protect. That I'm afraid that if I reached out to them and said, have I hurt you? Did I say something? Did I do something? And they come back and they say, yes, I heard you were gossiping about me. And I thought we were friends, but it felt like a knife in the back. Can you lay yourself and your feelings down in that moment and, and be willing to hear instead of trying to defend and self-protect? And even if they're wrong, or they're saying, you know what, I just don't like you anymore. I don't like the things that you're posting on social media. I don't like the books that you're reading. I don't like the way that you talk about this or that, or whatever it might be that somebody, and you are like, well, that's me and that's who I am and I'm okay with that, and they still don't like you. To have a relationship with Christ, to know that you are safe, even when people don't like you. They don't like what you stand for. They don't like what you believe in. They don't like the way that you talk about things. To know that I am following Christ as best I can and trying to have healthy relationships, to hear, to learn. So
what would you...
Hang on.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
What would you say to the person that might be sitting across from you that says, I don't know if I want to do it, but I'm a Christ follower.
Don't know if I want to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Then I would say, I don't
check your heart.
I don't know. Are you following Christ?
Yeah. No, that's why I asked that question, because as I'm having different scenarios go through my mind, there's a couple that I go, yeah, I'm going to do that here and here and here. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it here. And so unless I have someone safe that says, are you really following Jesus? Which is painful.
Sometimes you only want to follow him to the good parts. I'll follow you to the picnic. I'm going to follow you.
Yeah, to the chocolate cake.
Yeah. We'll go and do the fun things.
Right.
But the hard things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, we say that we are lonely, that we want friends, that we want to be a part of a community, but we don't often want to sit in the hard places of either a disagreement,
sure,
or a loss.
It's interesting. I have a specific scenario that's going through my mind, obviously, because I keep asking you different questions about what I should do with myself, that I think I even had the opportunity to not have to deal with it if I would have let bitterness and resentment go a year ago. Mm-hmm. But because I didn't, and now it's still coming to my mind, now I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the Lord offered me a closed door and it would have been okay and been healthy. But now because of my dysfunction, I feel like it's coming back up again where it's like, okay, well now let's try this.
Yeah.
And maybe it is not bringing my baggage, but saying, have I hurt you, or how have I hurt you? Like obviously I've hurt you. How have I hurt you? Or how, anyway. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is such a fun way to wrap up summer. I'd rather go buy backpacks for school. But I'm going to take a next step. So that's fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, we can't wait to hear about that.
I hope we never. Let's go on a 6-week break. In fact, I think this episode wraps up surviving summer.
No, don't say that. We're going to do one more. No! Yes, we are. And I'll tell you what we're going to do. I read a book that was so
we're not going to talk
amazing.
about me next time.
No.
Okay, good.
Maybe a little bit. You go do your thing, and then we'll tie it into the conversation. Okay, I read a book, and I want everybody to read it. Jamie, you're first.
Okay.
It's called Everything Sad is Untrue.
Okay.
And it is actually a children's book, and it's told from the perspective of a young boy who is a refugee immigrant to the United States.
That doesn't sound like the type of book I would normally read.
It's probably not.
Okay.
But I will tell you that it opened my eyes to the perspective of other people, opened my eyes with compassion to other cultures, the way that people look at things.
Interesting. Okay.
What people are going through, the way that they're received and perceived. I just thought it was amazing. And this would be an amazing book to read to your kids, with your family, because it's just a beautiful book about being image bearers without ever saying image bearers. I don't think is ever in the book, but it's a beautiful book about seeing image bearers.
Okay, so before we wrap up Surviving Summer on Life in Motion, I'm going to assign to my teenagers a book to read over summer break. This is going to go over so well.
Well, you offer them, I'm going to give you $50 to read this book.
Okay, that's actually not a bad idea. I paid to have weeds plucked the other day because
you get to sit inside and you read this book. Every day at 10 a.m., you sit down and you just read
right 10 after pages. You do the dishes.
Yeah. Just in the AC, you get to read a book. It's beautiful.
How long is it?
It's a couple hundred pages, but it's easy to read.
Okay.
And for the kids that are listening, there's lots of poop stories in it. It's hilarious.
Okay, I'm just thinking about I'll read it, and I'll read it before we record again. I'm trying to rationalize in my mind what it's going to take to get the teenagers to read it, but that might be for another summer. We'll see.
I just put you on the spot because We're going to talk about this book next week.
Yeah, I'll read it. I will personally read it. And thank you so much for hanging out with us on our journey as we survive summer and obviously as I grow up. So thanks for coming with me. Thanks for joining us on Life in Motion, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.